All right, Rick. Before I forget about it, I forget about it last week. Anton, you might want to go out and come back in, man, possibly. Let's try to get through the sponsors here so that they're not forgotten 2 weeks in a row. You ready to ready to go for it, Rick?
No. No.
Okay. Are you going to get there, or you just don't want to do it?
No, I just don't want to do it because I'm walking around.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna let it fly then, and we'll acknowledge who we have here, and then we'll bring on Jim Salame.
Here we go.
Botanical Company. Redemption. Real Leaf Solution. Detroit Nutrient Company. Brook, Michigan. Custom 420 Promotions and the Culture Clothing. I think that was at least as well as Rick usually does. Like that music, that's the problem. So Jim Salame jumped in on time. We're starting off with Adam, Mr. Hashbash with us. Rick is roaming about in the same building where we're broadcasting, and that will make a little bit more sense in a second. And joined here with Chris Silva. You get in the camera a little bit.
Hey,
we'll talk about the Chad Watch stuff later.
Chad Watch.
And with Tami Vandenberg, who is the owner of this establishment, and this is an awesome place, and where a lot of great work in our world gets taken care of. Also, a lot of great entertainment and fun for the people of Grand Rapids and surrounding area, and all over from a lot of the great acts that come through here. It's a great it's a really good venue. It's a very popular venue for some really good professional acts. Here's Anton coming back in. Is that better, Anton?
I think that's working. Yeah, I think that's going good.
Okay. I'm still concerned, but
are you?
For it, yeah. So anyway, we're gonna a little bit later on tonight. Rick and I are going to, and I think, and Chris, are you gonna be here for the meeting too? Dan, do you still participate?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, so there's the West Michigan Cannabis Guild meeting out here tonight. Rick and I are going to participate in it and join the group and have a discussion about some cannabis related things. I would imagine it's like a local business association, and a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's why we're here. But since we are here, we're going to talk about where we are a little bit. First thing is, this is the best name for any bar anywhere, especially in an area where Amway came about. So the pyramid came. So anyway, yeah, Tami, tell us what's going on and about the bar and anything else really. And we know that a lot of the meetings take place here. You do a lot of work around town, but your job is to run these locations here in Grand Rapids. So please let us know about it.
Yeah. Hey everybody. It's really fun to be back on the show, especially this is our little green room, technically right outside the stage. So it's super fun to be here doing the podcast. We opened the Pyramid Scheme up about 10 years ago and have had all kinds of musicians, comedians, activism happen here. We had several MI Legalize events. We had Decriminalize GR events. The Cannabis Guild, which I'm co-founder of, has met here for almost all their meetings. We've also had fundraisers. So yeah, it's a community space. Grand Rapids, as many people know, has a long history of a lot of conservative politics. So it's kind of a little progressive bastion where the resistance can plan and scheme and legalize drugs amongst many other humanitarian efforts. So,
it's a little oasis in the county, right?
Yeah.
And like I remember the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act 2008 passed in every single county, 83 counties. I believe it passed in Kent County, something like 50.5% majority, and that was carried by Grand Rapids.
Yes.
For sure.
Nice.
And so Rick's walking around the front. I wondered if I had been here before
Rick needs quarters.
And I walked in. I said, "No, I've not been here before. This place is really, really fucking cool." And it starts off, a lot of old cool pinball machines, all lit up and clean, and probably they get used quite often.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they're a big draw.
yeah. And so Rick's showing that, and man, the floor, everything, just a really cool. That bar, the bar itself, that beautiful big piece of like wood that.
Yeah, we
That makes up
salvaged everything we could from the lighting to the bar and the building itself, which was condemned before we were able to buy it. And Rick, be sure to walk past the capacity sign for the venue. It was super hilarious. We were really hoping for a venue capacity of around 350 to 400. That's what we were really, really working for. And then when the fire department came out, they said, how's 420? Is 420 a good number?
Nice.
So we all just laughed. We had no idea if they knew what that was. This was 11 years ago or so, and so we've had many of artists and attendees have their photos taken of the 420 capacity sign.
Very cool. Looks like Jamie Cooper's going to be joining us tonight for the meeting, probably.
Fabulous.
It says 600 for the capacity, by the way, now.
Oh, well, the back is 420. The whole building is 600. So, yeah.
The back is a smoking area, I imagine.
It is. It's not technically, but it
My imagination
has happened.
All right. Toby's excited about some of the dispensaries becoming unionized. First one on the west side of the state. I saw that the other day, and now it looks like another one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic.
So there you go. And so anyway, I remember I almost made it out to see Jeffree Star here.
Oh, yeah.
420. There's your 420 right there.
Okay, you had me worried there for a second.
There's your 420.
Still there. Good.
Yeah, I can see somebody might want to walk off with that. There's a little memento. One of these. No, not giving anybody any ideas or anything.
Sometimes things do walk off. But yeah, so tonight we have our meeting, the Cannabis Guild, which Chris was on the board of. You were a founding board member. Myself and Mike Tuffelmeyer launched that in an effort to really try to get some actual cannabis businesses over here right after we legalized, because so many other places in the state already had dispensaries, but Kent County had a very tumultuous relationship with dispensaries, and so there was no way we were going to be able to even get them allowed in Grand Rapids without getting organized, and we had to launch a ballot initiative even to get the city of Grand Rapids to consider allowing licenses. So the guild was really, really launched as, how do we get as many municipalities to opt in, and how do we convince them to do that, and how do we support candidates that are supporting an ordinance that would allow licensing. So that's kind of the impetus, and now it's moving on to a variety of other issues while continuing to try to get more municipalities and townships, et cetera, to opt.
So we're talking about the Western Michigan Cannabis Guild and the origins, and the fact there's a meeting here. And is it where Rick is walking around? Is that where we're basically?
I'll be back in the venue.
Okay.
Tables set
I haven't
up.
even seen everything yet. We just kind of got here and got going, so I'm looking forward to checking that stuff out for sure. And then we've also just talked about the venue here, which is the Pyramid Scheme, which is in and itself. This is like this is like established. Is this your concept from start to finish, or did you take it over at some point?
Nope, it was entirely our concept. Jeff and I have been music lovers. We are not musicians, but we have been music lovers for our whole lives. And Grand Rapids was very much lacking a mid-size venue. We've got some massive arenas, and we've had a lot of little pubs, but we didn't really have that kind of mid-size option for artists that are kind of, we always joke, we're getting the people on the way up and on the way down. And, so yeah, we really kind of hit a niche market. We're able to save the building and bring it back to use.
That's right, because you took over the building, obviously, when you said it was condemned. So this had to have been your thing, and it's just become such an established, well-known, awesome venue. What a great accomplishment! That's really cool. And just while I'm thinking about it, we're going to, because Tammy's gracious enough to allow us, have a fundraiser for Glenn here in this over the summer at some point. We're thinking July or something. I think was tentatively, and looking forward to that too.
Yeah, and we've done fundraisers for Decriminalize Nature as well. The new initiative. There was an effort in Grand Rapids, which kind of failed. It's unclear, but didn't get quite what we wanted. But also supporting the state initiative as well. So.
Mike will be here tonight collecting signatures for it too.
Fantastic.
Yep, and I believe he'll be on the agenda that we're talking as well.
Okay, great.
Well, it'd be nice to see him too. We're gonna see a lot of people we know already. So
Co-founder of the guild.
Oh no, the Mike.
The other Mike.
Yep, other Mike.
Because
Michael File Williams.
Too, to make it even more confusing.
That was super confusing.
But Jim is, of course, big part of getting this whole effort underway.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, did a little bit of that. Was part of the Decriminalize Ann Arbor group, and then Decriminalize Michigan for a little bit, and started the Entheo Fest last fall. That happens every September now, like about the third week in September.
Entheo Fest 2, or
it's a second annual.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sponsoring the Mac Pods and John Sinclair at Blind Pig, kicking off around 10:30 on Saturday night.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Mac Pods, and of course those guys were involved in the first Entheo Fest.
They were, yeah. Some of the guys from that band were there playing for sure with Brennan Andes and his Ann Arbor friends.
And that was a great day. Later on, we're going to get more into Hash Bash, and fortunately, one of our regular hosts here is like one of the preeminent experts on the history and a lot to do with it. And so, I always like having that discussion every year. And we usually learn a little bit more too each time. So we'll get to that. But the Entheo Fest, in some ways, it's its own thing, but it's also kind of following in those footsteps a little bit. And just
it was birthed from like the Hash Bash, idea, and it's needed just as much. And cannabis is an entheogen, so having that a part of it is really important too. Let people know about its medical use. And
I agree. And so I didn't catch at the end. Where is the city with it?
Chris, did you follow?
Not a whole lot.
They basically they voted not to change the ordinance, to just have the police not deal with it at all. They voted to support the statewide effort, basically, while doing nothing very meaningful on the city level.
But there is a lowest level enforcement priority. They're
kind of talking about that. I don't know if I've actually seen it in writing. I believe we were the first city, God bless Grand Rapids, that actually didn't vote to just full on decriminalize. So I'm really hopeful the state one goes through, because then we'll be covered in that. So it was a mixed bag of kind of what came out of that meeting.
Have there been any statistics, Tammy, as far as what the actual? Is there even any enforcement to really speak of? Arrest-wise, are people actually getting arrested with cacti and mushrooms and things of that nature, or is it just not really even a thing?
I want to say. I was talking with some of the organizers. I want to say there were only maybe 6 arrests.
That's not really like that.
So it's pretty unusual to actually have people arrested. I think it's more about just having people feel more comfortable doing it, ending the stigma, realizing the medical uses. It's really more about that kind of thing, which is very different than the cannabis argument. So it's been, with that. That was one of the key pieces that got people on board was, all the arrests and all the lives ruined. And so it's a little more nuanced than that, since there aren't massive arrests, which is a good thing. Of course, it's a good thing not to have all these arrests, but, it makes the argument a little bit trickier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In Ann Arbor, when the decrim resolution was coming out in 2020, and that was getting passed, the city chief, the police chief there, mentioned that that's like the lowest priority on their radar anyway. They're not looking for that sort of thing because they don't see a lot of it. And a couple of my friends and I were talking the other night that you don't see somebody on the corner in the street corner somewhere just mowing a bunch of mushrooms, just in the open. It's just like, you might see some other use of drugs maybe in alleys or something, but there's not a lot of people munching on
40
mushrooms.
ounces.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to wonder too. I mean, from a police perspective, how the hell you'd even tell, San Pedro is a very common cacti that grows in many parts, is ornamental cacti. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems kind of silly even to go there to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's a key issue. You guys, I'm going to jump off and let somebody else come in.
Well,
but
thank you very
I'm
much.
really grateful that you let me join in for a few minutes, and really nice to talk with you all. And I'll keep listening so I can
Right on.
learn a little bit more. All right.
Well, love being at this venue, and thank you for
Take care.
creating this great place.
Cheers. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna swap Tammy out for Chris and Rick now.
Hey,
What up, Chris?
what's up, man? We're just getting super close. That's right.
What's up, you guys?
It's a full house there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're packed right in there.
it's
too.
not necessary either. We just
No, we
really
have so
want
much
to.
room. Yeah.
Just want to be close. It's okay.
You just want to be close, right?
It's a good excuse.
get it.
It's a little chilly in here.
You guys should have your masks on. Just kidding.
We're definitely not social distancing now.
Bad joke.
Why don't you get here?
Yeah, let Rick back in.
We'll just do the Chad watch thing.
We'll let Rick back in here. He needs to hammer all the questions at Brandon. We're gonna ask some very tough questions about the West Michigan
That's the
Cannabis
hot
Guild.
seat.
Yeah.
Oh, the tough question.
Yeah. So Rick, go for it, man. Give him the fire in there. This is Brandon. Actually, you are the. I'm sorry.
With an L.
I'm
No
sorry,
problem.
man.
Landon Bartley with the West Michigan Cannabis Guild.
Okay.
That's right.
So West Michigan Cannabis Guild, clearly a trade organization. You only use regulated businesses in your Cannabis Guild membership, or do you have ancillary industries also?
We have ancillary as well. So we have a new membership category as of this year for industry partners. So far, most of those are licensees, but we've had a lot of interest from ancillary businesses as well, because we've heard that they want the networking opportunities, they want the job postings, they want to be able to talk with the industry in town, and it's a good opportunity for that.
Landon, I know many of the trade associations have preferred charities or things that they work with folks that they try to kick some funds towards in order to help them along the way. Do you have any particular ones that you like to dedicate funds to from West Michigan Cannabis Guild?
Not particularly. A major push that we've been working on is funding our PAC and helping get good candidates, cannabis-friendly candidates, reasonable candidates into office, and keep the good ones in there. So that's kind of been our focus, at least for now.
Now, on the Lake Michigan coast, or are you looking to influence politics a little bit further inland?
All over. So our sort of area is northern boundary is about Big Rapids. Southern is all the way to the state line. Eastern is about Ionia, and then the western is the lake. So we have members from all over in that area. We're starting to see more business interest, especially in Kalamazoo, Muskegon. If Grand Haven opts in for adult use, I think we'll start seeing interest there. We've had a lot of interest from citizens. So we're in there.
Generally speaking, the interest of people in Big Rapids are the same as the interest in people in Traverse City. Is it a conscious decision to just sort of stop at Big Rapids, or are you just not seeing any applicants coming from north of that?
We had to stop somewhere, and we kind of wanted to wait and see what happened in Traverse City. And I had talked to a couple people that said, basically we had looked at some district lines and counties and sort of said, okay, 17 counties is enough right now. Let's see how it goes.
That's a big coverage area, 17 counties.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, that's a good way to sort of track what's going on with the state's reports and such. We just saw with the announcement last week about the tax revenue sharing that our 17 county area accounts for about $14.3 million that's going to return to local governments and counties. And that's particularly why we're interested in this PAC, and how we're going to spend that money and make sure that it's spent the right way.
So as far as candidates go, are you primarily focused on state level candidates, local level candidates? What's your interest?
Primarily local. We are planning on supporting state candidates as well. But really, a lot of the the work gets done at local level, and we really see a lot of, especially because that's the people are opting in still, not so much, but we're really focusing on trying to get good candidates in there to opt in and not make existing ordinances worse.
What's your membership number look like?
Over 100 right now. I think that's been great for the last year. I mean, we got hit really hard by the pandemic and getting rid of in-person meetings, and went virtual for a while. We still had some good programming last year, but it's been sort of rebuilding. And I'm really excited to see where we're at now. Again, over 100, and we keep building on. One more thing with industry partner members is that includes 25 memberships from employees. So we've seen some those members joining and saying, yeah, let's get our employees in here, and that's helping bring our numbers up. Although actually we haven't had that many industry partners take advantage of that yet. So those are all individual members. So
Any thoughts on Sturgis?
thoughts on Sturgis?
Specifically getting more dispensaries.
Honestly, I'm not sure on Sturgis. I haven't looked into that too much recently. We've been focusing on Greenville. We just saw them pass a sort of mixed ordinance, except that they didn't allow adult use retailers of all things, only medical provision centers. And then Grand Haven has been our sort of focus recently. I'll definitely look into Sturgis. And feel free, vice president at wmcannabis.org. If there are specific places that you really want us to look at and get involved in, a major way that we hear about it and know about it is from members and interested people around the area saying, hey guys, start focusing on this.
A couple people making reminders that Amy Carter's running for state rep. That's District 68.
Yeah, she's over by Flint. She's in my area. So you mentioned a couple of times Grand Haven, and Grand Haven's mayor is famously anti-cannabis in a very obnoxious and insistent kind of way, right? So that seems to reverse a trend that we saw from Grand Haven, where we thought there would be more, acceptance. Wouldn't you agree?
I think the mayor is an individual that has very strongly held beliefs that don't necessarily represent those of the rest of Grand Haven. You look at the 4 precincts in Grand Haven and how they went consistently were in favor of Prop 1 back in 18. 55% was the highest around Ottawa County. And so I look at the mayor and her sisters that show up to meetings, public meetings, and speak out against it as kind of the exception, not the rule.
Grand Haven's a decent sized city too. This isn't some little burg where the guy who owns the hardware store pretty much runs the show. Grand Haven's a flowing, bustling community.
Yeah, they're big and they're growing, and they're a major tourist destination. And again, going back to those tax revenues, I wonder how much they would have liked to have about $200,000 more in their coffers after the revenues went up this week.
Yep, the first year of the award, when we collect tax from the adult use program, goes to roads, schools, and back to the local communities. And each community that hosted a cannabis retailer for an adult use program received $28,000. That was the 2020 payout. The 2021 payout was about $56,000, about twice what they received before. So if that was a carrot the first time, it's an even bigger carrot now, right, Landon?
Absolutely. And which is why it's interesting to us. There's, I was talking to another person in the industry last week, and he was saying, man, we just go to all these different meetings, and they're sort of considering this for the first time. And we've seen the same gameplay over and over and over. We just want to be able to say, don't worry so much. There's so much fear, and it's so unfounded. Just let this industry operate. Cannabis is here. It's already in your community. This is a question of whether or not you want safe, tested cannabis to be operating in the community or not. And especially when the tax revenues, we had one meeting where the council went immediately from a discussion of how we're going to fill this budget gap to voting on a medical only ordinance when they could have filled the budget gap the following year from these revenues. And I don't want to focus on the revenues too much. That's not the reason that the industry should be allowed in these cities, but it sure helps, and that makes a difference.
Well, Landon, I'll tell you, we appealed to people for many, many years based on humanitarian reasons, based on social justice reasons, based on just making things right and correcting the war on drugs, and they didn't buy it. It was a $56,000 hook that landed that fish. So as much as idealistically, we believe that there are so many reasons why someone should embrace cannabis law reform that doesn't require a financial incentive. Right. Some of these local communities really do need to be led by the wallet. It is It's kind of sad a little bit. It's
That's
frustrating.
why the MMFLA passed in the composition of lawmakers that it did. There was a small group of people that were thinking they could take advantage of this for themselves.
And it's important to note that only adult use retailers, those communities receive the $56,000. Medical marijuana retailers communities of that do not receive that money. So the big loser in this whole thing, the biggest loser of them all, is the city of Detroit, who literally, if they had they have 75 medical licenses right now. If they had 75 adult use licenses, they would be $4.20 million richer.
And that's this year. Don't forget
That's
about
this
last
year.
year. They lost out also.
That's correct, and that would have been
It's
half
not
of
just
that.
this year. And all of that money was cost directly. It was directly Mr. Tate who cost the city that money.
Yeah, Mr. Tate,
Councilman Tate made sure that poison pill was in that ordinance.
Yeah.
And he's the one directly for probably $6 million worth, $7 million worth of loss.
And before that, the city's culpable of just not stepping up to do something that makes sense, as there were several hundred places, that were proliferating around the city. I mean, and they were demonstrating some good opportunity. They were fixing up the areas that they're going into, creating jobs. The city could have jumped on that and taken advantage of it, but it just.
They had the greatest anti-blight program the city ever saw. They had 285 storefronts in action that were vacant prior to that.
And that's all prior to the 2016 passage of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act, which, prior to 2016, we had a very functional industry here. We had people that recognized that patients needed to have safe access. We provided safe access points, even though state law didn't allow it. Once 2016 came and we got the MMFLA, then communities started to be harder and started to shut down places that were providing those medical services because they saw a regulated marketplace alternative. Problem being is that they would shut them down in January, but they wouldn't come up with an alternative until December. So there was a big gap between enforcement and response.
Good luck staying afloat.
Well, in Landon, on the west side of the state, it was even more difficult for people to start those wildcat pirate operations like Jamie and I had back then. West side was tough.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know what this means, but
We need to let personal growers have access to pressers. I think that shirts look better when they're nice and flat.
For like
and
rosin,
iron.
maybe?
It's like concentrates. I think it's concentrate.
Oh,
a squash.
Yeah, why would they not have access to squashing devices? I mean, you got a fat neighbor, so you got a squashing device right there. So,
As long as it doesn't involve explosive gases, right? Butane. I mean, I understand why they don't want people open blasting. That's just stupid, but
my fat neighbor's full of explosive gases, so I don't know if that's
But they don't mind they
Doesn't
don't
sound
mind
PC for some reason.
explosive gases.
People.
It just has to be in a contained environment.
Did you say something about Jada? Sorry, I just had to go there. So,
And that was kind of strange too.
yeah, that was
Will
bizarre.
Smith thing.
But as far as
Don't
the West,
believe what you see.
no, it seemed incredibly staged. When you look at it frame by frame, it seems as if Chris Rock stood there, hands behind his back. A man aggressively approached him to the stage. He made no effort to defend himself whatsoever. And an even closer examination looks like he might have actually had a patch covering his cheekbone right there in order to soften the blow that he anticipated. So, but we don't even get into that.
How about the fact that they went from nobody talking about the event to being on the front page of every paper everywhere in the world? And for the last 2 years, it's been all about the lack of black people involved in the Oscars.
It has. And
Now, not only did they give a guy who's been working at this for 30 years an Oscar, but he's also up for an Oscar next year with a movie that's about to be released. They're already Oscar buzz about Will Smith in this upcoming movie. And now we're going to go through this whole rigmarole of the Oscars maybe banning him, maybe not. This is all for show.
They got
This
us
is a
right where
great
they want
marketing
us.
ploy.
Yep.
This is one of the greatest comebacks of all time.
like new Coke.
Movies are
got it.
popular again.
No, when it comes down to it, that's one of those dichotomies. For example, Landon, here at the Pyramid Scheme, if you guys, endorse people smacking the shit out of each other at this place, you probably wouldn't improve your reputation with your client base, right? I don't know, some clients.
What we
maybe.
want to endorse at the pyramid scheme is one of our policy priorities for next year is to get Grand Rapids to allow lounges and to allow marijuana events. We're going to work on that. We're going to see tonight's membership meeting. We're going to see how members feel about that. I have a feeling we're going to see some support.
Go over what it is allowed right at the moment.
What's allowed right now is, well, nothing's allowed anymore because they're all the opportunities are essentially eaten up. Grand Rapids has a fairly intense, I should say, like scheme of separation distance requirements, including some that were added sort of the last minute last fall, or I guess fall 2020. So basically all the uses are allowed in the adult use and medical licensing area, except for, and that includes micro businesses, not Class A micro businesses yet. We'll see about that, but not lounges and not events. We're going to be working on Grand Rapids and a couple other communities next year to try to get those to be allowed.
So Landon, that's a real sad story for those people who are counting on social equity as an opportunity for them to get into the marketplace.
Yeah.
Because once you finally get social equity right and you actually get advantage given to the people who deserve it, all of the good opportunities are gone, right? We see this in city after city, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in retrospect, and I was with the government when we were doing the medical round and got out before we did the adult use. But in retrospect and knowing what I know now, I think I would like us to have done it differently. Maybe had a cap, but not had so many or so few opportunities that were caused by these separation distances. Because what you saw in many other places is the land cost goes skyrockets when you have folks can find on the map where those the green zone is, right? And so we saw a lot of social equity applicants, a lot of local folks just get rights right out of the market right away.
It's a real concern. The social equity, as far as making it a level playing field, has to be more than just a discount on application fees at the state. The state continues to tell us every time we complain about this that they have very limited ability to affect that. So really, what we see as social equity is best realized at a city level.
Yeah.
But it requires a lot of faith on the part of the city, and not all communities are willing to give big discounts to people just because of their drug war history, right?
So Chase asked about lounges in Detroit, and that they would have to opt in, and that's what we were talking about. They're having a hard time doing something that makes sense along those lines and stopping challenges from slowing that down and stuff like that.
But recognize that in the city of Detroit, though, the proposed ordinance has a separation clause, which they did not have in the previous one, which means that if the retailers for the adult use, if the restrictive way that they've decided to do that licensing, if that gets thrown out by the court, the rest of the licenses that they award will still be honored, which means Viola Cannabis and all those other guys that are growing the gigantic grows in Detroit, they can still get their adult use licenses. Potentially cannabis social events can take place there. The micro businesses
What's the schedule on that being voted on? Or
April 5th is the next date
Okay.
for the Detroit City Council to hear that. They could potentially pass it then, but there was such a contentious hearing last time round. Former Senator Coleman A. Young Jr., now current Detroit City Council person, proposed a bunch of changes that were rejected, and it seems as if there's some lack of understanding about what the proposal actually says.
Fred Durhall Jr. is there too, and he understands this issue a little bit from being in
Speak up a little bit.
But there was a place that did get their license in Hazel Park, just outside Detroit. And and I will also report that either Kalkushka has its license or is just about to get its license, having passed all inspections and all the kind of hoops and all that kind of shit that has to happen.
Let me just observe, though, that being open for private parties doesn't make you any different than Cannabis Council law offices or some bingo hall run by the Eagles, right? Being open for private parties is not an open cannabis social lounge. So when someone says we're going to be the first one in Michigan, when you open the doors and let people walk through, that's the first one. So we'll see exactly who gets open first.
Yeah, they were the first license. That's a legitimate thing. But I do know Kalkushka is going to be, I think today this news came through. So, it's kind of reporting, I guess, breaking news that Kalkushka is ready to go when that all comes together. April sometime. I'm assuming. So
Yep.
we'll see if that is the first one that is just regularly open, maybe, and that'd be cool. But either way, it's cool. These things are starting to happen.
But in Grand Rapids, you still feel like there's a big market for a cannabis social lounge, right?
Sure, we've had a lot of people asking us about that. Hey, Cannabis Guild, what's the status with Grand Rapids? When are they going to get on board? And we're hoping. We have a couple of candidates that look really good this year. It's a very important election year, and we think that next year might be the time to bring it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like an owl just kind of leaning over my perch, kind of, observing with my big eyes. But, any move forward on the west side is a move forward for progress. Grand Rapids is, I think, far and away the most diverse city, or at least one of the most diverse cities on the west side of the state. And as Grand Rapids goes, so do a lot of their surrounding suburbs.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
incumbent upon them to set the example for other cities that just want to emulate the big guy.
A lot of times they wait and see, and that's kind of why it's so frustrating that we haven't seen quite the kind of leadership that we really hoped for. I mean, they've done a good job. They tried. They can do a lot better.
Oftentimes, small communities are worried about getting lawsuits, and if they see a big community that's done it successfully and has been essentially lawsuit-proof, then they like to just copy that language because it involves less risk. Jamie, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that Grand Rapids has a history of being pretty rough on this issue. I have a couple of experiences myself. I came to speak with the city planner at the time, and I cannot remember her name. She was around for a long time. Maybe he's still there. I'm not sure. But myself and Todd Dyer, if people remember,
Oh, yes,
really
sure.
awesome caregiver from this area, moved up to Newaygo for a little bit. He might still be there. And we ran into a few brick walls with our discussion about, how Grand Rapids should be taking advantage of this a little more. And this is before there's any statewide direction going on. And then I was at a municipal league meeting. Went there with Sharmy Golson, actually, and a few people we know, Eric Van Dusen and Matt Abel, and some others were there. And the attorney for the city, her name was Catherine Mish. I don't know if still around working in the city or not. She was advising people to when you find out where these clubs are. Now, for a long time, many of us know, but people should know, there were these things called compassion clubs, and they were just meetings of patients and caregivers where sometimes a connection would be made between them, or some education on how to grow or how to make an extract, or something practical in the world of helping people out with cannabis medicines would take place.
RSO for kids.
Yeah. And she would say, have the police, follow these people and pull them over on the way out and start finding out what's going on and stuff. She blatantly said stuff like that. And I remember the mayor of Dearborn, who was sitting next to me, saying, I can't believe she just said that.
That's unconstitutional.
Help the feds. If the other people aren't helping you, could go to the feds, she would say, stuff like that. So starting off with some challenges in this city from the beginning, when these opportunities became available.
It's come a long way. There's always more way you can go.
Chris, what were we going to jump in?
This hand in, back then it's the feds is fucking Pat Miles, you know what I mean? So they're definitely going to do it.
Chris off camera talks about how the federal presence on the west side was Pat Miles, who was Dana Nessel's opponent for the Democratic nomination for Attorney General. And Pat Miles was just like one of those dogs that as soon as you walk in the room, he just rolls over on his back, spreads his legs, and hopes you pet his belly. That was Pat Miles. He did whatever the cops wanted him to do, including prosecute Ryan Basor. So fuck that guy.
I have a question real quick though.
Yeah.
What do you think about so there's the new micro business license class, but what does that mean for people who live in Grand Rapids that maybe want to do that license class here? Because the real estate, the board, as far as my understanding on the current ordinance, I don't see a lot of opportunities. What do you think is what's that look like, and what if anything could be done to make that easier, or should these people just maybe consider opening up Kentwood or Walker or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So in case that didn't get picked up by the mic, Chris was basically asking hey, there's a micro business and Class A micro business, and what's the new license mean in the city of Grand Rapids? Or should they go a close suburb? The problem is no close suburbs have opted in. You have Cedar Springs a few miles north. Cannon Township has essentially opted in for Bay Grow and Processor. I think that's probably HOG. And Sand Lake, and that's about it in Kent County. in my last discussions with the planning department in Grand Rapids, they were saying, look, the way we see it, a microbusiness is microbusiness. So Class A microbusiness would be included in that definition of microbusiness. I'm a little concerned because I don't know if the definition in the code is quite specific enough to make that clear.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that at least the planning department seems to have that goal. I think that the micro-business rules are a little bit less strict than the others. So they have less separations. They can get into like some neighborhood areas and stuff. I wouldn't say it's easy by any means. I'm working with a client actually who's trying to get one going, and it's still been a lot of work for him, but there are still opportunities for micro-businesses.
So there's like there's hypothetical opportunities that exist for that though.
There are. They're just, I mean, and
Very few.
And there are enough that you're not seeing the same kind of price inflation or gouging that we saw with other retail opportunities for like the other licensees. It's still hard, but there are opportunities for micro businesses.
Here's what my real concern is, though. The Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association, those Chads and Brads, they actively tried to stop the Marijuana Regulatory Agency from issuing the Class A micro business license itself. So I'm concerned that a person, say for example, Anton Harb, might get together enough money and everything else to get a Class A micro business approved here in Grand Rapids, but because the ordinance didn't specifically articulate that particular kind, it could be subject to legal challenge by those MCMA bastards who just don't want anybody else in the marketplace.
We're not making anything off of that, so therefore we must challenge.
Well,
Exactly.
but it appears that they really are going after anybody that can grow their own weed. No
Anybody who's not them.
Because we all know that they're going after the home grower, not just the caregiver, but they want to go after the home grower.
And small
They
business.
just can't figure out how yet.
So that's my concern, is that if a local community doesn't specifically say Class A micro business in their ordinance, that there's a potential for, and this is a very litigious industry. People sue for stupid reasons all the time. Loom seems to be able to sue their way to success in some of the smaller communities on the west and northern shores of our state.
That's disgusting. See,
It is.
what they did in Mount Pleasant.
I know.
was-
Yeah, Mount Pleasant.
Loom, you mean that the company that snitched on their competitor?
Yeah,
Yes.
The
Bell
snitch.
Tire that tried to
Okay.
get us to give exclusive distributorships in the cannabis industry when we were drafting the ballot initiative for the
They sued the city
semi-legalized.
clerk in Mount Pleasant on the ballot, and the city wouldn't fight back, and the people who originally got the signatures to get the petition on the ballot couldn't do anything about it because they weren't the ones who were
They were
sued.
not named in the lawsuit. I know.
Yeah.
That's
Loom is spelled Lume.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Not LOOM.
It's spelled FUCKLUME.
And you don't want to call for a boycott of anything Loom because you won't be able to attend your favorite rock concerts because they've started reaching out to all of the venues. They
have a
with
spot.
313%, and they've partnered to have their name represented everywhere.
You have a
So
spot.
you
at
got to
Find
be
Out.
careful what you boycotts you call for. I'd rather see you just go take a dump on their doorstep.
I mean, collective doorsteps, right? You have to save up a whole bunch in order to do them all because they got like 30 retail locations. So pick the one
Yeah.
closest to you, I guess. Spray it with some Mexican. Okay. I guess the important thing to note, though, is
Again, man, you're not having a good PC day. Are
Not at all, Rick. Not at all.
Canceled, homie.
the evocative visuals
Let it out. Let it out. It's okay.
helping out the readers, the listenership. But what we're really talking about, Landon, though, is that the situation's not the same in all parts of the state. I mean, in southeastern Michigan, we have a lot of communities willing to jump on board, especially western Wayne County, Oakland and Macomb County, now that they're starting to loosen up. We've got a lot of folks there that are ready to go with new businesses. But here on the west side, most of the great opportunities are already taken, right?
Yeah, it's. I think there are opportunities, but they seem to be a lot few and far between. That's part of why we're working with the locals, trying to get good politicians elected, make it more reasonable.
What are the bigger companies that are just gigantic, like a Loom or somebody who's coming from out of state? What are those companies on the west side near Grand Rapids? Which ones?
Ascend Wellness, Chris chimes in from over here because he knows, he's a smart guy.
Ascend and Terrapin.
And Terrapin also too.
Okay.
With mergers and acquisitions now, 315 was a west West Side operation that was just gobbled up by Skymet, right?
Terrapin's kind of disappointing, man. There's some pretty cool people in there, and they just have this philosophy that they won't shake, and it's just frustrating.
You can have good people at the top, but if you have people at the middle that are all about bean counting and crunching numbers and what's best to return money to our shareholders, they make decisions that are not human based.
It may come from the top. I guess I don't know everything about where the decisions come from, but I can say I had a really nice conversation, and I don't want to expose too much. I want to be a little bit respectful of the fact that we talked about some stuff, but they just asked several times, like, what would be a good idea? And I said to make it very clear that you do not support peeling back existing rights, and that's not your intention, and that you realize that that's not the direction that you want to go, and just make that really clear. And it was a little frustrating to be asked like the same thing several times and given the same answer.
They have to do it in a more definitive way than just an Instagram post too.
So I mean, I don't know if the willingness is there. It's just like there's some people we meet and have these conversations. I just want to like them, but they just won't shake the bad ideas sometimes.
That's gonna get set up. We have our meeting here at Pyramid Scheme starting at 6.
Well, Rick and I are looking forward to being a part of this meeting. Man.
Yeah, I'm really glad you guys are here and can help us out with the legislative update.
Okay.
Thanks for having the cafe. It was good.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
See you guys.
Take care, brother.
All right, so I guess this is time where we talk about whatever we want, but we're gonna start getting into the Chad Watch stuff a little bit. And I don't know if people have seen the bracket. I believe I can pull it up on here. Chris Silva with Redemption Cannabis, a company that we all appreciate, of course, with the foundation, and we
definitely just as a disclosure, like the opinions of Chad Watch aren't necessarily that of the company. Just I'm sure our lawyer I'd love
well, there were. I mean, I don't know the process. I just saw the thing, but it's obvious. Other people kind of chimed in.
People that are on the door of Bloom, so that probably should be distanced too.
This looks fair enough. Let me see if I can get it.
I'd walk that one back.
No, I'm okay with it.
They just got vandalized, man. Like last.
So,
did they really?
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know how well that's showing up, but there are the brackets, and in the first matchup is Viridis, which is a lab we've talked about a lot on our show. They are engaged in a pattern of issues before even the most recent scandal that they created. And they do consist of former police officers running the state police forensic science labs, and they were willing to skew science then to bust people, and they got busted doing that. And now it seems, there's some question as to whether or not they're skewing science in order to make a bunch of extra money in the cannabis world, and that's what it looks like. And they're going against High Life Farms. This is a tough one for me. I had this discussion with Chris because High Life Farms, that's Chelani. And they are the big money source and the big drivers behind all the crap the MCMA is trying.
I definitely feel like the 8 seed was a mistake. That was an error. That was an error. We're getting this shit happens.
Chelani's behind conversion oil too.
Jesus Christ,
it's a big push.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's a big push.
So Chad Watch is not perfect. We make mistakes.
It's the first time.
This is probably, Viridis is obviously going to blow them away. The dirty cop thing. I didn't present this in the right light. So,
well, what is good news is between our show, between your new show, the Chad Watch podcast, normally today at 1:00, but you're going to do it on Thursday,
Thursday.
afternoon.
We're going to do it Thursday at 1:00. We just had a tech thing. Everybody involves a stoner. You guys get it. And then also Thursday is the last day of the month, so we can wrap up. We can wrap up March Chadness and have a nice winner. And we're gonna do the episode for what it's worth is going to be on Hash Bash / the birth of Chad in Ann Arbor. And so we're gonna have Mr. Hash Bash on. I think it's gonna be. It'll be a nice tie up of March Chadness into a little historical trip into Ann Arbor.
Very cool. And let's check out the next matchup here. We got out of it because I don't know what it looks like out in the real world here. All right, so the second matchup is Willow International. That's the remediation, the ionizer machine,
the ozone,
ozonator, with Green Peak, formerly known as Skymint, and recently acquired 315, as Rick talked about earlier, and North, it looks like.
Yep. So this one's still hop on the story for Chad Watch podcast. You guys can still vote on this. I posted them last night at 7:00. So we are You're losing time on that. You got a couple hours left, and then we'll be into the final four tomorrow. But I think
So let's talk about that one for a second. So kind of go over these for a little bit.
Yeah.
For me, it's got to be Green Peak. I mean,
It's
okay, so
They're the absolute worst.
we don't need to talk about it anymore. All right, so let's look at
Winner.
let's look at the next matchup here, and that is Flourish, which of course is an MCMA member, and supporting the evil ill deeds of that lobbyist organization and trying to peel back existing rights, versus Cannalicious, Detroit Edibles, Cola Farms, drug dealing Dan Dingman. This is a group of people well known to have taken advantage of many people who are knowledgeable and heavily involved in the cannabis space for a long time, and utilize them for information and to build a business. And just to make a long story short, when the money started rolling in, got kicked to the curb.
They're responsible for the destruction of the Detroit Fudge Company, as far as I'm concerned, and I love that company.
Oh yeah.
That's just
fucking love Harry.
Well, they did. I mean, I think what I described is like a much worse to humanity than that. But if whatever pisses you off about them is,
I made it so everybody else understands, right? Okay.
So yeah, this
so
one
fuck
is
those people, man.
for sure. And so I'm from Grand Rapids, which is where Flourish is from, and they were the only other dispensary open when the one that I was running was open. So fuck these guys. They're MCMA members. So this is like what I would consider a really good.
This is a good matchup.
I was gonna say, like, if this was college basketball, if this is a 4 and a 5 seed, this is banging. One of these scumbags could actually win the whole thing. It's totally possible. So I think this is a really exciting one. I believe right now in early voting that Cannalicious has a little bit of an edge. So the big thing about Cannalicious that I just want to point out as like just to show you how like fucking tone deaf these people are. In their allegedly in their business plan and pitch deck, they bragged about not using marijuana. And that the craziest thing, instead of just saying like, hey, we don't use marijuana, they just said in their bullet points, not users, which is just the most scumbaggy
believing that it's a positive for a potential investor.
They thought
I'll add a little bit to the pitch deck too. They highlighted a lot of people who have been heavily involved in the cannabis space as being a part of their organization.
Put in their fucking
timeline.
timeline.
While they're simultaneously kicking them out of the organization because they don't want to give them any money.
Right. So, these guys, and then Flourish, it's just, they're MCMA members and the weed's just really bad. And that's kind of just.
They support the MCMA, which makes them shitty.
Yeah, but the personal story, that gets my vote.
Fuck Cannalicious, fuck Cola, fuck Detroit Edible.
So yeah,
that's my personal one too.
That's the game. I mean, that's how it works, right?
And then our last one is Common Citizen. Fuck Common Citizen. Against
Red, White, and Bloom,
Platinum Vapes, and High Times. I don't like High Times transformation. It sucks. The new High Times cup is really fucking stupid. I guess it's not. A lot of people do like it. I guess whatever. But if you've had exposure to what happened before, it's really fucking stupid, man.
From a curated judging system to anybody that can afford to get a kit gets to be a judge.
Also, the shit has there was an anonymous aspect to it before. It would be a gram of concentrate or a gram of flour, and now it's packaged.
You know who it is.
Wait,
I suspect
wait. Hold on.
Based on the packaging,
Let me jump in here real quick. Here's the problem with the High Times competition, as I see it, as someone who puts on an actual competition.
Yeah.
When you do an event where you're judging random entries, completely random. It's not one batch. It's not like the grower said, here's my entry. That's how every event has always worked. Here's my entry. Instead, what they do now is they go pick it off of a retail shelf. You're buying brands. Yeah. It's just a brand name. You're not all testing the same batch. Who knows how long your shit sat on one company's store shelves as opposed to another. I mean, imagine if Detroit was open for business. They'd be blowing places like Grand Rapids off the map. Your turnover would be a lot higher. So you have stuff in a shop in Grand Rapids that might sit there for 2, 3, 4 weeks, but stuff in Detroit's there for 3 days.
Yeah, it really is.
2 different entries now. How can you judge that? And why is that fair and equal? Well, obviously, it's a money play. They proved that a long time ago. and it's for the masses. High Times is a brand for the masses. More power to them. Let them keep the weed game alive in every community.
And this company, for what it's worth, too, I get the most unsolicited messages from people who used to work maybe for the affiliated brands that Red, White, and Bloom is purchased, and since that happened, like they just sound like a terrible place to work for. Like they're just like shitty to their employees as well. So that was the big reason for putting them on there. Is like I get messages from people all the time that are like, "Hey, if I wasn't scared shitless of this NDA, I would be blowing it up on Chadwatch." So they just they got in there for being kind of like businessy scumbags. And then I also, it sounds like we're all on the same page. Like destroying the High Times Cannabis Cup was just really offended me because it was okay the way it was.
Yep. Well, if you don't have the events to support the cup, then this is maybe the only logical way that you could actually do the cup. But Adam's point is absolutely correct. You're not having an apples-to-apples comparison. Who was their opponent in this bracket? It was Red, White, and Bloom versus whom?
Common Citizen, which you guys all fucking hate. Holy crap!
Yeah, fuck Common Citizen.
I can't even believe that. Like, it's like
Yeah.
I didn't even I felt like I underdid this. Like the rationale on them was like, hey, they're MCMA and it's mids and shit, and people just really don't like them. I don't know, like it must be people who have bought their weed or something. I don't know. I never smoked their weed.
Well, they do a lot of the remediation stuff, a lot of the reports that we've gotten come from people that have worked there and the conditions, and they know that they're gonna zap it, so they don't really have a lot of great standards in place. That's what we've heard. I mean, whether or not it's true, we've heard of this from a lot of people. Okay. So cheap remediated cannabis, is grown outside or whatever, and they're also part of the MCMA, and they support a lot of the stupid shit. But there's a few of these places, and this doesn't resolve anything, but they do put a lot of resources into social equity, community outreach. They hire good people, to facilitate these programs and stuff like that. And I don't have anything against that behavior, but in a lot of cases they believe that it is helping to resolve the bigger issue, and there's no way it does. I will be happy whenever somebody helps out another human being, but in no way does that solve the problem.
It doesn't
trying to
scrub
fuck
your
other people,
record clean, right? And I've met Mike Elias, who's one of the big guys at Common Citizen several times. I've talked to him. He's a nice guy, but just to be fair, he is the epitome of a Chad. He's someone who didn't have any interest in the cannabis industry prior to buying his way in, and conducts his business sort of in a tone-deaf way. And even though he's another one of those where they talk down to the consumers by trying to reduce their purchase experience into need states, right? I have sleepy, I have wakey, I have go run like a crazy animal, and then I have a couch clock and watch a movie. And that's how they title the strains. But we all know that enough flower comes through stores that you don't have the same strains representing sleepy and wakey every time. So the effect is not the same. And when you structure your store to speak down to the lowest common denominator instead of respecting people's previous cannabis experience, to me, you really miss the mark as far as a retailer goes. So, I mean, nice guy. I just don't like the way he's executed his business operations. So
I was just he's got Cheers Medical Mondays on there. I wasn't on last night. I was at I went to go see the Sunrise Orchestra. Sunrise obviously not been with us for many years, but a lot of the musicians that played the music still tour around. It was fucking amazing. And the main dude's like 97 years old, and somebody via Medical Mondays gave out a little care package of some cannabis, and it came at a perfect time for that show, and all that stuff was great. I want to say Packwood. Is that right, Adam?
Yeah.
Man, I brought in the little vaporizer. I normally don't like it, but it's this live resin, and I got high from it while I was in there. I snuck it under my mask, and made it look like other people were doing it.
Way to sandbag.
Yeah, thanks for destroying the industry, Jamie. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, but
high during the show. That was the main thing. Huh?
Adam?
That Packwood stuff you mentioned that they were on the show last night on Medical Mondays, that's all terp-infused product, and I'm not sure how I feel about that type of stuff.
So the the live resin is okay. It was good, man. I don't know what to say. I got really high from it. I don't normally get high from vaporizer, so I liked it for that reason. Plus, I could easily use it inside, at Third Man last night. So, Adam, when do we find out if we won tickets? Is that from last time? You're going to do another ticket giveaway when we get over to talking about Hash Bash weekend here pretty soon, but I don't know if she means from last time around or not.
If you got tickets, it automatically sends you your tickets. So you check your spam if you didn't see it. But most people that I heard from seem to receive them.
We are going to do another giveaway. Oh, from last night, she's talking about, because I guess we were on the.
From last night, same thing.
So if you won them last night, check your email because you should receive a notification there that you got your tickets, right, Adam?
Because you tried to use the whatever the password was, and
you get a code that you enter, and it automatically, when you complete the transaction, sends you your tickets.
And we're going to try to get some people to. We're going to give away a few. Josie wants me to give away a few of the treasure maps too today, and so I'm going to say right now, if somebody who wins the ticket to Hash Bash Cup, if you want one, also claim it. But I would kind of like people to. We're trying to raise money from it to help people get their records expunged. If you get one, if you can talk somebody else into buying one to go on the treasure hunt with you to kind of make that giveaway worth it a little bit, I would appreciate that kind of self-consciousness when you claim it. But I want to make a couple of those available for people too, and I'll tell you how, if people win them, where you can pick it up from either our booth at Hash Bash or at one of the stores that are participating with us. There's a particular store I have to figure out what it is, but anyway, I want to throw that out there with it too, to see if we can get a couple more of those out, and a couple more people interested in that.
The treasure map is a great thing. You run around Ann Arbor on the weekend of Hash Bash. You visit a lot of cannabis-friendly places. You get a lot of free gifts, and every time you go, you get a little passport stamp on your map. And once you get it completed, you're entered into a drawing for an even more awesome gift. So, treasure map just sounds like a lot of fun.
Can we even see that?
It really does.
There they are. That's what they look like.
That's a great idea, how to keep people it's so interactive, I mean, people like to be involved in these types of things.
So it would be Arborside. Whoever gets one from us tonight, I'll make 4 or 6 of them, something like that, available.
Home of Medicine's in there. I think they got a giveaway.
They sell them there. If you want to go buy one, you can go buy one from there.
I'll tell you that I'm making a celebrity appearance in Detroit at the 420 Factory on Greenfield on Friday. And Redemption Cannabis has graciously pre-purchased several of the treasure maps. So I will have a few freebies that if you visit me at 420 Factory on Friday from 3 to 6, I will be able to provide one to you gratis, and you will appreciate it.
But
you will appreciate it.
You will.
You have an opportunity right now without even having to see Rick.
Yeah. Which is what most people prefer to do.
That's a plus.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, maybe and also maybe we'll have Josie come on with us a little bit later on and help give away a couple too. Let her explain it so I don't screw something up. But Arborside would be the place you could pick it up, or at our booth at Hash Bash. And you get, and they're like $30. Again, all the money goes to helping people get their records expunged. And there's like $75 to $100 worth of shit you could go around and pick up. Discounts on food, smoke shop stuff, and then dollar dispensaries where you get a pre-roll or gummy or something like that. So it all adds up. It's all a bunch of cannabis. And then if you do it all over the weekend, you put that in for a drawing for some more stuff, like a whole weekend paid for in Ann Arbor, and a lot of other swag and glass and nice stuff. I don't know. I'll have the whole list in front of me, but all good stuff. And all of it, of course, ends up helping people get their records expunged. So do it for that. But anyway, we'll get a few of those going. So any final words on you people can still vote, right?
You can still vote for like 2 or 3 hours. But this is for the first round. And then tomorrow we will drop final 4 voting, and Thursday, and then we'll do this championship tomorrow as well. So tomorrow's the big day. And that's for the most part it on Chad Watch. Thank you, everybody. I think probably whenever when we go on Thursday at 1 p.m., people can watch it on the Facebook, and I believe that we'll be ready for YouTube then. And then this week we should be rolling them both episodes out onto Spotify and Apple and all that shit. I guess is what they.
And regardless, so even though somebody's going to have to win and somebody's going to have to lose, and they're all a bunch of assholes, talk about all of them, what the problems are over time.
Yeah, no. So everybody's getting dragged through the mud. Don't worry. Just because your like least favorite person didn't win, they're still. It's okay, like just they didn't win March Chadness. It doesn't mean like they're like good dudes or anything.
And I volunteered to have a couple of the discussions. We really expose a lot of the horrible shit that some of these.
And I can't believe I forgot. One more thing I'll mention is I'm gonna order like a little $sign trophy. A little cash symbol. We're gonna get it nice and engraved, and depending on how physically intimidating the person is who wins, we'll go and deliver it in person. So
that's cool.
If you're not scared of
I always like
That's brave.
It is
I
great.
always like the idea of a really, really nice, big, very, very cheap plastic trophy with a real fancy brass plate on it.
Very cheap.
Very cheap
I can
trophy
3D
with the
print
brass,
one.
engraved brass plate.
No, I mean, I was even like, yeah, we can even just get a nice one, like trophies aren't that expensive, I guess.
No, they're not. I mean, I get the glass one behind me is not that expensive, and that's crystal.
Yeah, no, that's too good. They don't deserve.
No, I know that's too good.
3D print one, man.
So I'm also gonna make a couple extras, so maybe they can be like Chad Watch mementos and shit. Because I realized I was like, I'm gonna make this awesome trophy, and then I'm just gonna fucking give it to Virtus, and they're just gonna throw it away. They're gonna look.
No,
at
you
it.
have to make two of everything. One to put on display.
Yeah.
And one is their gift, so that you have like a Hall of Shame or Fame or whatever you call it.
Yeah, for sure. Because they're just gonna look at it and be like, "What's a Chad?" and throw it away,
Right.
I'm a Chad.
You're a Chad.
But cool, yeah. So I mean, that's basically it. So I appreciate.
Right on. So Thursday at 1,
support,
and it's kind of funny, but it's also like there's some stuff there to talk about. These people are not good players in our world, and they cause a lot of problems, and it hurts people.
Yeah,
fuck those guys.
Virtus hurt like real people. People had their lives and families torn apart because those scumbags basically listened to some lobbyist and changed the law.
People had their kids taken away.
You know?
There's a corrections officer on this side of the state where we are broadcasting now. This area not too far from here committed suicide when he got caught up in all this stuff. And all it was figuring out that making some butter helped out his medical condition. Got happy about it.
You don't think that it was more about him realizing that he had lived a life that got him to where he was at that point, and that he treated other people improperly and poorly, and that others were suffering like he was about to suffer?
Well, man, he's like a prison guard. He wasn't like a cop. He's like corrections. Okay,
I'm sorry. There's no bigger scum on the planet than a
okay,
prison
all right.
guard.
Okay, just making sure that we're talking about not a regular
there's
cop.
no love lost here, dude. I know guys that would have gladly taken him out so he didn't have to commit the crime of suicide.
But I mean, no, I think it was probably because he got charged felonies for doing something that he thought was, allowed.
Right. After backing up that system for all those years. Is my point.
Well, fair point.
I mean, these are players who get caught in the game that we're playing. And you know what? They're not ready. They're not big boys. They're not ready to play this game. I'm sorry for his mother and his father because he did it in their driveway.
Yeah.
That's the sad part of the story.
It's kind of funny, though. Some of those guys that end up in the prison, though, didn't play the game very well, right? So you want to bag on a prison guard. The man's trying to provide for his family. Man, I hate when you talk like that.
Anton, have you been there?
Oh, I've been to prisons before. Yes, sir. Yes.
No, have you? No. Have you been there as an inmate? Have you been there as a guard?
Hell no. Not as a guard, no.
Well, let me tell you. It's the most foul place you could ever imagine.
That's why you don't end up there.
Those are the most foul people you will ever meet in your life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, our system gets people.
Who would sentence themselves to prison is the question.
Yeah, our people can get incarcerated without really doing anything. That was
It's disgusting speak, Adam. You're just that's
The point
disgusting.
is, who would
You're
sentence
disgusting.
himself to prison?
You're
And
disgusting.
that's what prison guards do.
Hey,
Shame on you to
I
condone
can't hear
somebody
you.
who would commit
Unfortunately,
suicide.
I got
Shame
knocked
on
out.
you.
I got to come back.
Disgusting. What's wrong with him?
well, he has the history of
Perspective, you know.
calling out
Condone anybody who would commit
all people that
suicide.
help to
Shame
support
on
that
him.
system. You know, so he's being consistent with his views on that. So,
Well, his view is fucked up.
well, I'm not saying that everybody. I'm not saying that. it
So
has to
you're
be-
right. My view's fucked up, Anton.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Because I was doing fucking nothing.
No.
Okay? Nothing.
Okay.
You know why they came after me, Anton? The same reason they're going to come after you, my friend.
They ain't coming after me.
You can't say that.
I've never done anything illegal.
Neither did I, Anton.
All right, brother.
I mean, you just don't know, bro. That's why I asked if you'd ever been there, because you don't know. There's no reason to treat someone foul.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you're a prison guard, then you treat an inmate like an inmate.
Mm-hmm. We'll agree to disagree.
So and there's probably like there's different issues that we're talking about that we're trying to on one hand show this really horrible fucked up system that people shouldn't be supporting, and on the other hand there is the fact that somebody did take their own life who was working within that system and not responsible for the system. And I think everybody kind of has a point or could be right or wrong here if we really wanted to break this down and talk about the very specific perspective that's trying to be imparted here. And I don't want to deconstruct it to that point, and I don't want to keep up with any more tension, but there's blame and there's like more discussion to be had for clarity to go around. It's pretty sensitive stuff that we're talking about. So
if you back the illegal system, if you back the prohibition on the illegal system, you have no business being in the legal system. How about that? If you were a Nazi, you were a Nazi. You don't stop being a Nazi because the war ended.
Right. So there's a lot of intensity and a lot of sensitivity here, and all reasonable perspective. And there's a deeper conversation that could be had. I didn't really want to get off on it right now and get too stressed about it, but fair enough that people have these intense perspectives. I respect that. I really don't want to get into it that deeply right now. We can move on a little bit. And I want to talk about Hash Bash.
Mm-hmm.
And this fucking great weekend coming up. And
I'm looking forward to Hash Bash for one reason. This will be the first time a sitting attorney general will actually speak from the dais of a Hash Bash. I'm not convinced that this is the first time an attorney general has ever been at a smoke-in, because they constantly arrest us and show up at those things over the years, and I'm sure they've participated in many more than we know. Okay? So the fact that they're there isn't the issue. The fact of the matter, because they've been there before, just like they've been at all kinds of things. The fact of the matter is, this time a sitting attorney general is going to speak from the dais, which means that the crowd and the people at the event will have the opportunity to respond and to react to her behavior as attorney general. So, people used to ask all the time, oh, well, because my policy always was you let elected officials speak at Hash Bash. That's important. People say, well, you wouldn't have let Bill Schuette speak. You're dead wrong. I would have loved for Bill Schuette to come speak at the Hash Bash. I mean, not every year do I carry tomatoes in my pocket when I go to Hash Bash, but you can damn well bet I'd have had him that time if he'd have shown up. So, the reality is that I think it's great, because there's a lot of people that don't like this attorney general that will be there. There's a lot of pot people that don't like this attorney general that will be there. I'm thrilled. I voted for her. I'm thrilled that she's coming. But, it took 51 years to get her there. Think about it. And this is now a whole new, and this is the example. This is a whole new world we live in. This is about votes. This is about politics. That's because we are players. That's because there's now a system that those people have to bow down to, as opposed to overregulate and try to put their foot on our neck. Now they have to come to us and beg us for our votes. And that's what this is about. That's why she was there as a candidate. That's why she came with the now governess as a candidate. And the reality is that we are major players in the game. And we have something to say. I've gotten 2 phone calls during this whole show. One was from an out-of-state newspaper. One was from the Detroit News. Both want to talk hash bash. This is a hot subject right now. Why? Because we're on a national platform. We always have been. Now there are smoke-ins and weed events all over the country. But what makes ours special? What makes ours special is who shows up at our event. The fact that for the last couple of years we've had some major players as elected officials is a game changer. And the war's not over. The battle hasn't won. People ask all the time, why do we have a hash bash if pot's legal? Well, pot's not legal. It's still illegal to smoke a joint on campus. I encourage everybody to bring a pre-roll and fire it up. I'll tell you when. Just keep your lighter ready. And, you know, it's all about saying fuck you to the man. That's what hash bash is about. It's not about anything but saying fuck you to the man. That's why it started. It started because they passed a law that the people didn't like.
Right.
So we're still there. And as the yippies will tell you, there is no such thing as a good pot law.
Well, and as we all know, incrementalism is just the nature of the game. We wish that we could Thanos this whole thing and make it all right immediately, but it's not possible. So we have to win by degrees, which is not satisfactory, but it is the way the game has to be played.
Thanos isn't very PC, Rook. You really shouldn't have said that.
Real quick, Rick, I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. I don't think those people that know what's going on would want it to change in a snap, because that would be worse than what we have now. It can only happen incrementally because this is an emerging industry that isn't based on anything else. There has never been an emerging industry that was based on an illicit industry. Remember, when Prohibition happened, alcohol was legal before Prohibition. So all they did was open the bars back up.
And that was in a small time period, too.
We have to move little by little so that this industry can build itself and it makes sense.
And people had the opportunity to see what it was like when it was legal, and then Prohibition, and then so that was much different than what we're
much different. This is totally unique, which is why it's so exciting.
Well, and we can help to shape it any way we see fit, and we have to work for that a little bit. But it's such a challenge when these big money interests come in and just treat it like it's a seasoned industry and put those systems in place and have the discussions with the lawmakers and the decision makers as if this is just how we're going to do it now, and that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult to interject that we don't have to play this game. We can do something that's different with this and really do the social equity stuff. And you know, since it's all
and I think
we don't have to like resign ourselves to anything that's gone before.
I think we proved that in how this system rolled out, actually, because had they brought the actual stakeholders to the table, they would have done what some of these other states are doing, and they would have rolled out the grows before they rolled out the dispensaries.
We tried.
No, right. But no, I get it. But the people in charge and the people that were in power, and not just the politicians, but the big money people, were like, no, this is what we want. This is how we want it. Do this. And they had no clue what they were doing. And that's proven itself out, which has now got us in a great spot, because now they're realizing, oh, well, maybe we do need to listen to these people.
Hey, so, and I agree, we are significant in numbers when it comes to elections. We demonstrated that working with this community was the difference in a tight race a couple of times. So anyway, and let's just do our classic brief overview of, how we get to Hash Bash and how things got initiated in the first place. I know a lot of us are somewhat familiar with it, but a lot of people checking this out don't really know exactly how it all got started. And
sure.
Yeah.
Back, so the way it started was John Sinclair had been charged and convicted of possession, which at the time was a felony and got you 8.5 to 10 years as a sentence. Common. John was not rare in that sentence. That was the sentence of the day. That was very common. John fought that charge and was able to prove that marijuana was not a narcotic. It was a euphoriant, which meant that that law was unconstitutional. So the timing of this is, he, of course, is in prison waiting to get out on an appeal bond. They wouldn't give him an appeal bond. The John Sinclair Freedom Rally happens in December of 1970. The Supreme Court rules that he should be freed on appeal bond. He comes out. The state had this problem because he had proven the law was wrong. They needed to write a new law so that Michigan had a marijuana law. And there was a brief time that that Michigan had no marijuana law. And that time was to come to an end. And I said 1970 earlier. It was 1971. I had that date wrong.
So yeah, in John's case, the Supreme Court decision lifted all restrictions.
Right, lifted all. And what happened was the new law was to take effect April 1st. And that would make marijuana now criminal again. And a group of people put up signs around town calling for a hash fest, actually. The Ann Arbor News at the time, after this event, as a side note, after this event, referred to it as a hash bash. And that was the first time that had ever been used as a term. And it became hash bash after that. But they put these signs around town, and people on the on April 1st, 1972, appeared on the Diag at high noon for what was essentially just a smoke-in. They decided a year later to do it again as a protest, as a smoke-in. That second year, Perry Bullard, who was a state representative, the late Perry Bullard, showed up and I don't know that he got caught. I use the word caught because that's the word I'm using, but he got caught by a photographer smoking a joint. And that appeared on the front page of the paper, of course. And the House of Representatives censured him, and it became a huge news story. And that kind of helped to birth what became this annual smoke-in, where people gathered in the 70s, for this smoke-in. I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than a bunch of people getting together smoking weed. There were no speeches. There wasn't any organized anything.
It's just a message that it doesn't matter what the laws are. We're going to sit here and smoke.
Right. It's a big fuck you to the man. We don't care what law you pass. We're going to sit here and smoke weed. And it wasn't, and there'd be a person here or there arrested every once in a while for one reason or another, open alcohol or some shit like that. And it wasn't until the late 80s, early 90s that the arresting thing became pretty crazy with the war on drugs and how they would arrest people on campus. But in the about 84, 85, things had gotten a little slim at Hash Bash. And there was a group that wrote a letter to High Times and talked about this event that happened. And High Times didn't know any better, and they thought that sounded good. And they came out. And they came out, and there was a few hundred people, and they thought that was really cool. And they did a news story on it, and they published it. And the next year, things were huge. When I say huge, it was thousands of people. Because all of a sudden, we had people from all over the country coming. And there were no pot rallies back then. There were two. There was three, actually. The Ann Arbor Hash Bash, the 4th of July smoke-in and at Washington Park in Washington, D.C., and the Madison, Wisconsin Harvest Fest. So it wasn't like it is today where anybody, you didn't have to drive far to find some sort of weed thing. So it was rare, and the crowd started getting bigger each year as promotional type things happened. High Times getting on board, the fuel, food, fiber, and medicine campaign of the late 80s run by Jack Hare did a lot because Hash Bash became the first stop on any tour that started that year. Because you'd start in April in Ann Arbor, you'd end up in Madison in May, you'd end up in Washington, D.C. in July. So hemp tour would take off, and that started to help promote the realities of Hash Bash. And I like to tell people that the perception of Hash Bash is much bigger than its reality. There are people who show up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, figure out a place to park their car, wander over to the Monroe Street Fair, smoke a joint, wander around town, go to dinner.
And say they were at Hash Bash.
Spend weeks telling their friends how much fun they had at Hash Bash. And they were never there. I'm going to tell you they were never there. Why? Because Hash Bash takes place on the Diag at high noon. Now, why is it the first Saturday and not April 1st like it used to be? Because as the crowd started to get bigger, we realized one year when it was midweek on April 1st that very few people showed up as compared to when it was on a Saturday, April 1st. So we didn't change it. We asked the crowd, hey, do you think this would work better next year if it was on the first Saturday? Or should we keep it April 1st? And the crowd voted. And we moved it to the first Saturday in April. And now we have people playing all year to come.
That's why I mentioned Groovy's on here with My Canicast.
So
we're talking about this stuff, so just want to throw that out there. Yeah, man. So I was going to bring that up because there was that change, and another thing that I think is interesting to people is that John got this thing kicked off, but it's not like he hung around and stayed a big part of everything.
Hold on. John was never at a Hash Bash until I brought him 26 years ago.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I was getting at, man. It's like
nobody ever smoked a joint with John Sinclair the first 25 years of Hash Bash. Sorry. I have people come up to me all the time and tell me about hanging out with John Sinclair at Hash Bash. It didn't happen. He wasn't there. He wasn't a pot activist for 20 years.
And he was like a DJ in
he was an award-winning DJ in New Orleans. He left the weed game. And why did he leave the weed game? It's real simple. The weed game didn't respect him. It didn't take care of him. It didn't honor him in any way. He had no business. He worked for MiNORML as a lobbyist. He realized that these people don't need me. They're not going anywhere. So, and I reached out. When I was running Hash Bash, I was looking for speakers. Who can we bring? Who makes sense? Who's relative to what we're doing? And no offense to the people that have come after me, but I didn't have the opportunity to bring millionaires that run dispensaries from California to speak on the Diag to people who really didn't know what they were talking about. So I didn't have that. I had guys like John Sinclair who I called up on the phone and said, hey, would you come to Hash Bash? No one ever asked. And I don't think he's missed but 1 or 2 since. So, it's kind of interesting how we got to where we're at today.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that this event wasn't a political event other than fuck you to the man. Until the man came after us. And then it became political. When you saw 150, 200 people being arrested, it became political. And then it became about fighting against the war on drugs. I actually, some people may get offended by this. I ask for veterans discounts because I'm a veteran. Matter of fact, I'm a combat wounded veteran.
Oh my God.
Look up definition of a veteran.
You've got to be shitting me.
I know. I would never claim to be a
So-
military veteran, though.
The
I
Lone
respect those
Reefer,
guys for what they did.
Lone Reefer is a veteran too.
Right, Lone Reefer was a veteran.
So one time I went to the
Don't declare war against me, and I won't be a veteran.
one time I went to a hash bash. It was one of the ones where it got like circumvented down to Huron Park or
Yeah,
somewhere.
we went to Fuller Park.
Fuller Park, right? And so I didn't have anything with me. I'm like, fuck, man, I wish I had some cannabis. Next thing I got hit in the ankle with a frisbee. Reached down to pick it up, and there's a joint taped on the inside of it. It's compliments of the Lone Reefer. I'm like, all right.
Yep. Lone Reefer was a great guy. A raging alcoholic, I might add, but a great guy.
Well, I appreciate what he has done over the years, and that was definitely a part of the early years.
Yeah, and that was the thing is you have to understand. At one time, this was a circus. We used to have to bring the circus to town in order to get the media to pay attention. It's not like it is today where they go to the website and they see a name and a phone number and they dial that phone number. They used to want to come out and get photographs. One of the greatest things that they used to look for was children at hash bash. Man, if they could catch a teenager smoking a joint, they'd put them on the front page of the paper.
Make a big deal
every
about
year.
it, yeah, how the kids are getting influenced. And all that.
Yeah.
Bobby
That's
said,
not
I guess
what we
he's a
were
double
about at
veteran.
all.
So he's gonna be back around town here. He spends a lot of time in Jamaica and some in Michigan and all over the place, really doing the squash offs. And the next one coming to Michigan is going to be this weekend.
Yep.
At the Cup.
At the Hash Bash Cup.
What stuff surrounding that we need to get out at them, and maybe we'll set up doing something that gets some people some tickets.
Yeah, we can give tickets whenever you want. Hash Bash Cup is the 1st through the 3rd. You can get tickets at hashbashcup.com. All our vending's sold out. Our hotels, rooms are sold out. It's let's see, Friday night. Got bands on Friday, vendors on Friday, Saturday. We got the squash off during the day. Also have Sideshow Sapo's Freak Show. He's bringing all the freaks from Flint. He didn't call you, did he, Rick? You're not one of those freaks, are you?
I don't wear the costume, so he doesn't call me a freak.
Okay, no problem. But yeah, we got like Gucci Berry and Sunberry and
Gucci Berry going to get his nuts smashed in by something, or is that?
We're gonna fence them. We're gonna close them in the pool area. All these people, they're having a pool party.
Well, I want to see Gucci in a thong.
Yeah. No, I figure that there'll be people like you wanting to.
You would figure that,
right? So, and then Saturday's our award show for our Hash Bash Cup. There's also the Glass Bash at the Hash Bash Cup. We'll have 41 glass blowers taking turns on the torch. And then at 9 o'clock, they're going to have an RC derby, demolition derby, where they have these RC cars and they make glass bodies out of them. And then they do a demolition derby. I think it lasts about 40 seconds until they're all busted up. But it's supposedly really cool.
That sounds entertaining.
And then Saturday night, there's a ladies' sesh that Miss Berry Cush, yeah, that's what we call it. Rick's back into it.
So I know
9 p.m., right? Ladies' sesh.
This thing is cool enough on its own, and like people show up because it's just a very, very cool, unique, almost surreal scene. Being in a hotel, access to great medicine, just as an adult, using where you are, and it's just a really nice, good feeling that you can't get everywhere all the time, and you don't necessarily make a big deal about all the acts and all the extra stuff going on. All this other great stuff's going on. The squash off is going on. Everything that you just mentioned is going on. But there's going to be some great shit there as far as like artists
we don't promote the event. It sells out without it. Right. I tell my artists I'm not going to pay you full price because I'm not going to use your name to sell tickets. So
and they enjoy that. They like hearing that.
Yeah, they like that. I mean, I got national tours coming through. Literally, we're the stop on national tours.
Well, I know that good friend of the show and good friend of mine and world-class fucking musician Razor Ray Reyes is going to be hanging out Friday night. I'm probably going to stop by to see him and what he's going to be involved in, and I know that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that phone call, Jamie.
Okay, all right. I thought it was going down, but glad I didn't fully explain it then. But
yeah, no. But we're we're not saying much, and we're not making any phone calls to inquire because we're hoping they're just
Right.
doing what I think they're doing.
Well,
So, and that's the issue.
regardless, there's good shit going on. I mean, that's the point. And it's
It's
just a
all
great
top
place to
notch.
be.
The entertainment there is really a thank you to the people that paid to come. So it's really there for them. It's not there to drag people in. And it's a unique experience to be able to hang out for a couple days and see the people you know and love and hate, and hang out and just chill and do what we do. I mean, it's we've never had any problems at our event. Secure parking lots, all that stuff. I mean, it's a good time. It really is.
Adam, you really have full access to the hotel too, so you can literally be in the hot tub smoking a joint. You can literally swim in the pool while smoking a joint. You have all those common areas available to you.
Here's what I tell people. Like I would say to Anton, I'd say, Anton, you've never smoked weed in a hotel. And Anton would say, no, I have. I put the hell. He ain't going to admit to it. I know that. But he's smiling. That's all
I bet he will.
He's going to say, no. I put the towel at the door. I cracked the window. Matter of fact, I learned from you, Adam, to cover that smoke.
Yes, with the shower cap. Yes,
Right,
the mask and the shower cap. You taught me
Okay,
something.
but here's what I would say. I'd say, but Anton, that's smoking in a hotel room, a sleeping room. That's against federal law, Anton. You never did that. What you've never done is done dabs at the front desk while you were checking in.
That's badass. I will give you that.
That's badass.
I will give you that. Absolutely. That's
You
pretty
can
cool.
smoke anywhere in this hotel but the sleeping rooms.
That's pretty cool. But the sleeping rooms.
It's illegal. It's against federal law, man. Come on. Are you now a lawbreaker, Anton? You're not going to encourage these people to break the law, are
breaking
you?
the law, I would say no. I would say no. Do the dabs out in the front desk.
I had High Times and Weed Maps standing next to each other at the first year we did this event, which of course was the worst year we did this event because it was the first year. And they stood next to each other and they said, this is the coolest event we've ever been to.
Never seen anything like it before, they said. Yes.
Right. Never seen anything like this.
Yeah. How many hours, Adam? I mean, the amount of hours you have into planning this has got to be extraordinary. I mean, how long does it take to plan something like this?
All right. The whole truth, the 100% truth,
sure, yeah.
Without blowing up my own ego, Anton, I don't stop thinking about this event. Last night I went up to bed and I closed my eyes and I walked in the door and I saw the sign right inside the door on the right-hand side. I saw the sign in front of me in the right that you'll see. I knew I walked through the whole building. It took 20 minutes. I saw everything, right? That was just last night's review. I then woke up this morning and tried to figure out what I was missing. I think about this event 365 days a year. The reality is tickets go on sale every year Christmas Eve.
Wow.
This year, we sold more tickets the first week than we did the first month last year because so many people have gotten shut out in the past. They were waiting in line. And you can't expand it because you can't make it any bigger. There's nowhere to go.
By the way, I think it's hilarious that Adam Brook wants us to believe that he was intimidated against doing something with cannabis because of federal law being broken. Right. I'm pretty sure you don't really care that much about that, Adam.
No, I just don't want. It's the RICO charge that I'm trying to miss. Yeah. So I don't want to encourage people to break federal law because I'm not going down on a RICO charge. Can you see this? Mr. Hashbash arrested, charged RICO charge because he encouraged people to smoke in their hotel rooms.
That's very Tommy Chong-ish, right?
Now, I wouldn't doubt the federal government would do that. So therefore, I'm protecting myself. And
yeah, right. No, the fact is, it's a unique experience. It's amazing. And Adam, do you have 2 hotels that you put people up in?
I do. There's 2 hotels on the property, and just so you know, they're about to build 2 more in where my parking lot's at,
right
next door. So, of course, I'll lose my parking lot and have to go find another. But yeah, we use 2 hotels. There's about 280 hotel rooms sold, and you have to understand that it's a very expensive event to put on because of the type of event it is. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I used to spend $12,000 a year for air cleaners It's now $15,000 a year because prices went up. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
So that's part of the agreement. Like you bring in big air scrubbers at the end.
Yeah,
of it all.
I have to bring in a company to bring air scrubbers in. There's 20 of them put around the hotel.
Serve, bro, like it never even happened.
That's exactly right.
I know.
It's sold out, Adam? I mean, are all the rooms, every room sold, or?
Weeks
Probably
ago.
been
No, actually,
weeks
that's not true. I have some. There are rooms. I hate being a promo guy. There are rooms available for sale right now. Was able to squeeze the inventory a little bit, work it a little bit, found a couple rooms. I'd encourage people, hashbashcup.com, under buy tickets. Right now, all I have is stuff left in the Hampton next door, but it's a nicer hotel with clean, bigger rooms, whatnot. And it's 50 feet away, so you walk over and you can smoke in our hotel and hang out.
2 hotels we sleep people, but only 1 hotel do we smoke people. Just
Correct.
so everybody is aware. If we were to get those rooms now, they would be in a non-smoking facility. But as Adam mentioned, just a short walk over to the whole 420 happens.
There's people doing something at any given time, so it's always find a social scenario.
And this is a unique event. I'm not sure this event could or would happen any place other than Ann Arbor.
Right.
I've been asked to make it happen other places, and I've refused. I don't know that I would want to make it happen anywhere else right now.
You can see your passion about it, man. I mean, I see where you get the name from. Like, you can see that you come alive when you talk about it.
Well,
Good
that's
for you.
because I'm one of the few people that actually protects the words hash bash.
That's
the
cool.
only reason, I'll be honest, the only reason the Hash Bash Cup is called Hash Bash Cup is because I'm involved in it. Because they wanted to call it something else, and I told them that would be a mistake on that weekend. Because if you're going to do it the weekend of Hash Bash, you have to call it Hash Bash Cup. And that if they want to call it Hash Bash Cup, they better hire me to do it. Because if they don't, people will give them shit for calling it Hash Bash Cup. Because I protect it. I won't let it. You're not going to get me off my square when it comes to Hash Bash. They try. Jamie will tell you I call them all the time and chew them out. Because I don't agree with things.
I think we're going to try to have what I consider to be, I guess, in the later stages, a traditional hash bash, in that there's attention being paid to the history, to the legacy. Mr. Hash Bash, a big part of that, especially this year. John, of course. There'll be a few other people sprinkled in there. Dr. Whitty's going to introduce Dana Nessel, for example, who's done some fundraising for her and works with her in their party and all that kind of stuff.
Last time we were live together, Rich Burkett got some attention, and that's a guy who deserves it. So, yes.
And then, of course, there's been a lot to do this last year. We've had a lot of challenges. The big money interest trying to peel back rights. A lot of the townships and cities trying to have stupidly restrictive ordinances, and the people that have stepped up to the plate to do some stuff about that. The people at least representing the factions of people that have stepped up to the plate to do a lot of work in that regard will be there. And then the elected officials, as Adam, besides the Attorney General. There's 3 state House reps who are going to be there. All of them have introduced really good legislation, not legislation that's whipping itself through the process because it doesn't have the support from all the people that it needs. Like some of the stuff that we don't like, when there's a lot of money and lobbying and associations and lying and smoke and mirrors and all that kind of stuff associated with it. But we're talking about the person, Representative Cynthia Johnson, who started the first cannabis caucus of the legislature this year. That gets recognized. And she introduced a bill that would remove all taxes for cannabis patients when they're buying in the commercial system. Representative Garza. We brought up Amy Carter here earlier. Amy and others, Latrish and Heidi from My Compassion. Heidi
Nearham.
For My Compassion and stuff, initiated great conversations with him, which led to what we call now Jaden's Bill, named after Amy's son. And this would allow pediatric patients to use their medicine on school grounds during the day, like as long as it's not smokable, along with the way that everybody else gets their medicine distributed to them. It only makes sense. And we have Representative Rep Robbie. He is the representative of that area where where the event takes place. But also, he recently introduced a bill to take cannabis off the state's controlled substances list, where it still continues to cause a lot of problems for people. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm happy that Amy's there anyway, because of a lot of work being done with that bill, with lobbying against a lot of the bad bills, doing a lot of education for lawmakers and everything. But she's also running for a seat for state house rep in District 68, one of the new drawn districts, and she has a fair chance. She's backed by the party. She stepped up to the plate and without a field of competition around, and is going to take all the experience that she's had over the years battling with the health systems and all the issues with having a child in need in this state, and put it to use in Lansing on behalf of us. We want decision makers like that. There's going to be a few local elected officials who are there that have done some really good work and shown their support and sensible approach to this issue. And Jimmy Wilson from Ypsilanti Township, he was the only sensible member of the board when many of us were there discussing the Judith Pontius situation that we talked about on the show a lot. Somebody who got persecuted for violating the local ordinance, which is more restrictive than state law and needs to be challenged differently. But because of the way that her case played out, and unfortunately didn't have the right lawyer challenging things in the right way at the right time, and she ended up getting kind of screwed a little bit. So luckily she didn't go to jail, and she had small fines and stuff like that. We have Annie Somerville. Go ahead, Adam.
I just was going to say, I'm not sure how lucky as an activist I feel. Well, I don't want anybody going to jail. The absurdity of it, I think, might have played better in our hand. Instead, it all just got washed away, and nobody really cares. I mean, it's unfortunate, but her whole case was a disaster.
Well, there's another challenge there that was talked about with Barton, her new attorney, who does understand this issue, Barton Morris. But I haven't followed up to find out what's going on with that. And I am aware that there's some other new cases too, challenging some of these restrictions. I believe one in Warren and perhaps elsewhere. But I just want to say we have Annie Somerville too. She is from Ypsilanti City Council representative. She's done a lot of good pro-marijuana stuff, including giving some teeth to the social equity part in the local ordinance, and getting some of those funds that come in and putting it to good use to help people out. And she's also the chief of staff of Senator Irwin, who's a long time and really good friend of our community. He can't make it this year, so it's fitting that she is there. We also have statements from Congresswoman Dingell, who has been on stage as a congresswoman, and who's participated online a couple times, who wanted to be here this year, but's got a big Young Dems convention in Washington, D.C. this weekend. And we may get a statement from Rashida Tlaib as well, and those will be read. So we covering some really good ground and covering the components of things that I personally have grown to believe are very important when it comes to Hash Bash. And we have Josie joining us, who's going to be around with Sons and Daughters, and Glenn.
Hi, Josie.
Does a lot of great work, and we got the maps thing going with her. And so let's figure out, Adam, what we do to give away some tickets before we get any further into this, and people have an opportunity to get a few. And I will say, anybody who wins these that wants one of these maps can have one. If you conscientiously know you get somebody to buy one to go with you to do this treasure map. Does that sound okay for right now, Jose, or do you have something else in mind?
Jamie bought these maps for like a gift, I think, right? You bought 5 maps. We're giving them out. We're excited. We want
I bought 5 for people who volunteer from.
He's dope. He's the best. So I'm excited about it. The best thing about the map is, well, for me, it's $30, but has $75 worth of cannabis products on it, and it's all kinds of cannabis products. So we've got some like archive. I'm so excited for this archive gift. Like, I'm ready for it. But we've got live resin, we've got pre-rolls, we have a bunch of flower options, $30, $75 worth of weed, discounts at restaurants, discounts in store credit at smoke shops. I'm really excited about it. You can purchase them online today at sonsanddaughtersunited.org/hashbash treasure hunt. Hash Bash Treasure Hunt, or donorbox.org/hashbash treasure hunt. Both will take you there. If you purchase them online, you'll have to pick them up at Arborside, which is one of our locations, kind of further out there. So you'll get a good chance to stop.
1818 Packard.
They are limited in quantity, so I don't want you guys to wait until Saturday or Sunday and then be mad that you didn't get a map. With that being said, come see
You will be pissed that you didn't get a map.
Come see me at
Ruin
the
ruin your otherwise great weekend if you don't have a map.
I'm running my same regular special. Also, everybody that wears their front cancer shirt gets 20% off of anything at my booth. Also, every hash bash we have a dab competition. My mom versus anybody that thinks they can out dab my mom. Sing it. No one has done it yet, but if you can and you think you can, we'll give you a map to do so. We're so excited to be a part of Hash Bash once again every year. It gets a little bit bigger, right? Do you think that's truthful? Like, I just feel like there's more people and more things. We do have a booth at the Monroe Street Fair. We have a booth at the Diag. You'll find us literally anywhere that weed is being smoked. We are out there. We are hustling these maps, guys. Please buy my maps. They are so they're so cool. And I just want to let everyone know that our anniversary for the Expungement Network on Friday, we turned 10 months old, which is a huge fret. I know we've done a lot of cool stuff over the past 10 months, and all the proceeds for these maps go directly to expunging records. So get in there, spend $30. Let's get some records expunged.
Adam, look in the private chat and see if that works as a
That works.
Okay. And then what do we want to say? I don't know how many you want to do,
All right,
but
so
first come, first serve?
Yeah, it's first come, first serve. Hold on. I got to do that. What people are going to need to do is go to hashbashcup.com and use the code that we're going to tell you. Take that code, and you're going to have to click on buy tickets. You then you'll see a box that says enter code here, promotional code, something like that. You put the code in that box, you hit the apply button, and it will allow a free Jazz Cabbage Cafe ticket to show up. It'll show a discount and a zero amount. That's the ticket you want. I think.
And yes, Loves Wood Heat, you do need a ticket to go to this event. You can't just go to the hotel is the event. That's what makes it so extremely cool.
Yes.
So let's do that. And again, once you do that, you get a ticket. And if you want one of these maps, then come back to the comments here and say you got a ticket and you want a map, and I'll pair that up and we'll figure out how to get you one. Do you want to just say it, Conrad? How you doing, man? Of course, hanging out up in Northwest Michigan, and they're good friends, Mark and Tony. And you should come on down here, Conrad, for the Hash Bash weekend, man, and get in on this. All right. You want me to just post it, Adam, or do you want to say it, or how do you want to do that?
You can post it. You want to say it also. You can handle that.
Okay, so first come, first serve. If you want the maps, come back on comments. Say you got the other ticket and you want the map. It is Jazz. I don't know if the capitals or whatever make a difference, but it doesn't. Just Jazz 1818.
Mm-hmm.
I'm posting it. First come, first serve. And if you want the map, let me know. And if we don't get too many maps, we'll come up with something else. Or get a hold of me privately, and if there's still maps available, I will. All right, Conrad's trying, man. Come on. Don't spend your time talking here. Spend your time trying to get those tickets.
An awesome cause. What an awesome cause all these proceeds are going towards.
Yeah, and please, if you want one of these maps, buy one so that somebody goes with you on this treasure hunt, and then that little more money gets generated to help people get their records expunged.
I just got back into town, Josie. I promise to go get one tomorrow. I'm going to Alton to grab mine.
I was looking for like things to do in Ann Arbor, and I called Jim, and Jim is like, first of all, everybody that called was like, why are you talking to me and not Jim? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. I called Jim, and he knows like everybody in Ann Arbor. So when I started calling these people, they were like, yeah, we love Jim. Fuck yeah, let's work with you guys. So
They all
Jim,
talk like that too. They're like,
they do, yeah.
Sounds just like him.
Damn. I'm excited. I'm thankful to be here.
Conrad, you gotta go to this Eventbrite, right? And then use that when you go to buy it, you use that code Jazz1818 to buy it. Is that right, Adam? Adam, you're muted, I think, man.
Go to hashbashcup.com and you enter that code you hit buy tickets at hashbashcup.com. You hit buy tickets, and then you enter that code in the box at the top of the page.
Hashbashcup.com, Conrad. You can do it, man. I want to see you get it. I want to see you get tickets.
How has the response been, Josie? I mean, I'm assuming a lot have been sold so far. What is the actual? Do you have a total or?
So we're all really excited about it. It's on sale at all 6 of our partner locations, which is great. We are selling out of them fast. So we're selling them pretty fast. So if you want one, please buy one quickly. But you know, people are stoners. Y'all are probably high right now. I mean, Jesus Christ. That's why Conrad can't get the Hash Bash ticket. So there's definitely tickets available. They're around. I'm hustling them all over the state. I'll be in Lansing tomorrow. If you're like, Josie, I want these tickets. I want to purchase with cash, or Josie, I want to smoke weed with you while you're in Lansing. Both things are reasonable and fine with me. Hit me up. I want to do that. I'm so proud of our team, by the way. This is something that we came up with from one of our interns who joined us. She went through the network and she was like, this is dope. I want to do this. This was 100% Crystal's idea. It's been phenomenal. What has been really cool is the way that shops have responded to it, right? We're essentially asking them to give away 1,000 free joints or 1,000 dabs or whatever. And they were all like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I'm here for it. One of our meetings took 7 minutes and it ended us with like complete silence because we had no idea what to say next. We're like, okay, we want to do this. They were like, dope, let's do it. And that was it. So we're excited. We're so thankful to be a part of this.
Can you tell if people are getting them yet, Adam? Or he's muted again?
Yeah, they're almost gone.
Okay. If somebody wants one of those maps to go along with it, throw it up here on this chat or get a hold of me by messenger or on IG or I think my phone number's out there somewhere. Just whatever, text me. If you need a map, let me know. And if I am convinced that you are a pure heart.
Jamie deems you worthy. If you pull the sword from the stone, then you may get a Hash Bash map.
And just buy one anyway, because
you can just buy one. I mean, yeah, if you need a record expungement, please go to Great Lakes Expungement.
To answer your question, Anton, there are a nice amount of people participating in it, but we have a lot more room, and we'd like people to utilize it. You know, so please.
Can I email it like a politician?
Yeah. What if I do a personality expungement? Do you do that? Because I could probably get some of the bad stuff wiped out of my history if that was possible.
That is another program.
Conrad, you enter. You got to hit all the buttons. You got to actually do, Conrad. You're actually doing a purchase, kind of, but you're using the code to buy it, basically. If it doesn't work out, don't fret, man. But I hope it does work out.
Well, it should.
Yeah, hashbashcup.com. Follow the shit to buy a ticket, then use the code. Or Adam, want to go over that process again, just real quick?
Yeah, you go to hashbashcup.com. There's a button for buy tickets. You scroll down, you find that button. You push the button. There will then come a page where you have at the very top of the page a box that says enter promotional code here. Or promotional code. You put your promotional code in there. You apply. You have to hit the apply button next to that, and then some tickets will pop up that you won't be able to see unless you enter that code, and that ticket will be a Jazz Cabbage Cafe, a Jazz Cabbage Cafe ticket giveaway ticket, and you select one of those, just like that. Not that difficult. Kenyatta did it, Brenda did it, Richard did it, Audrey did it, Mike did it. Barry.
Brenda did it.
Brenda who? Wait a minute. Hold on. Is she ditching me to do my own booth? Because I have. She's
Hey,
kind of
Ryan.
like
Ryan wants a map. Tell Ryan what to do about getting a map. Joseph.
Ryan. Okay, let's get Ryan a map. You can pick them up. We'll go ahead and get with Jamie. If you want a map, you're going to be there. Let's get it done. We're going to give away some maps. If you want to purchase a map, you can go to sonsanddaughtersunited.org/#treasure hunt. Lots of cool stuff you can do on that website as well. You could apply for assistance for expungements. You could apply for scholarships if you have a variety of drug charges preventing you from returning to school. Really great website. Lots of great resources there. Please go buy a goddamn map.
But we'll get with me.
Chris, I didn't do
Pick out your, if you pick up your ticket at Arborside or at our booth, or if you get with me someplace, whatever it is, Ryan, we'll figure it out so you get your map.
Yeah, you can pick it up. You should pick it up at Arborside. So the reason we chose Arborside, other than them being OGs, is because they're kind of like on the outskirts of the map. So that way you'll get there.
Treasure hunt right then.
Right.
Yeah, you start it right that moment, and you can get some dank. I already know what they're giving out there, so I was like, hey, they should start somewhere good.
So Ryan, your name will be at Arborside, right?
Yes.
Go to Arborside.
Go pick it up at Arborside.
Ryan Bednarski.
And then you have to tell everybody how cool it is, put it on the internet, whatever. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate this.
Promo
I'm
code for
excited.
map is Jazz18. Oh no, there's no promo code for map. You come back on here and say that you want it, and then we'll set you up also to go pick it up at Arborside. Loves wood heat. You can purchase the ticket, you might get a T-shirt, but if you're just getting one for free, Adam's not as generous, I don't think.
What is Adam not generous about?
If somebody does not actually purchase a ticket, then the free T-shirt is not necessarily come with the package.
No, there's no free T-shirt with the ticket.
Oh, okay. People are saying that there is a T-shirt.
No, it doesn't. If they read the ticket, nowhere does it say that. It does give you the opportunity to put your T-shirt size in there, but it doesn't offer you a free ticket. But that's okay.
Oh, it's a tease. You put your size in there,
No,
and you're
it's
like,
not.
"Oh, it's not free. All right, I'll buy it."
It's not a tease. There's 18 different tickets available.
There are no teas.
Some come with free tickets or free T-shirts, and some don't. That's all.
No tease. Hey, we are after our time. We have another meeting coming up. It's the Western Michigan Cannabis Guild meeting, and Rick and I are going to participate in it. We have Chris and Amy Cooper and Michael File, who had our show last week, and Tammy, and so looking forward to that. Landon, who just was interviewed here earlier.
We get to sign the petition to put on a statewide ballot proposal for decriminalizing all entheogenic substances. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm going to do that for sure. Maybe get a few to have people sign. Oh, maybe get some entheogenic substances for sure. Cannabis. And anybody else have anything to add before we sign off? Rick, any grand conclusion to this?
I'm not going to.
Okay. Anybody else want anything to add before we wrap this one up this week? And I appreciate everybody's participation.
Okay.
And,
I will always talk. Make sure you stop by the Sons and Daughters booth and get your Fuck Cancer shirt. But also, in my spirit of saying fuck all the time, make sure you get Bob Young on that list of free maps. He deserves it. Bob Young was petitioning in the fucking rain for months. Anyways, I'm also releasing some Fuck the System shirts for Great Lakes Expungement Network. So go down, get them. They're trippy. They're awesome. Thank you guys for having me on the show. sonsanddaughtersunited.org/#treasure hunt. Thank you.
Ruby.
all right. And we're going to sign off. Hey, Conrad, please just message me Facebook, man, or on IG or something like that with your question. I have to go right into this meeting right now. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Cabbage
See
Café.
everybody Saturday.
Happy Hash Bash.
See everybody this weekend for Hash Bash.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.